Walley the Raccoon, an Ambrosia farm story written by Melissa Blizzard. Once upon a time there was a farmer and his wife who found a small raccoon along the roadside. He was all alone and peeking out behind a tree. He looked hungry and scared. The farmer and his wife decided to take the little fellow home to feed and care for him until he was strong enough to be on his own. They named the new little friend Walley. Walley the Raccoon was a mischievous little fellow who grew and grew. Farmer Jim decided it was time to take Walley back to the forest where he had found him. He was a little older now and strong enough to look after himself, plus he would hopefully be able to find other raccoons in the area. They were sad to let him go, but knew it was for the best. Well, Walley showed up a few weeks later in Farmer Jim's cornfield. He was not sure it was Walley, but when Farmer called his name out loud and whistled, Walley came running as fast as he could. Walley had found his way back to Farmer Jim and he was enjoying his delicious corn. After that day, Walley would visit Farmer Jim's place often. Farmer Jim and his wife Jeanette had a big garden, and he often took his produce to the market to sell each year. He had all kinds of fruits and vegetables. He would load them up and off to the market he would go. Farmer Jim and his wife unloaded their fruits and vegetables at the Haynesville produce market. Many people came to shop at the market. People came from all around to purchase his items. They always told Farmer Jim that his produce was the best around.
How do you get your produce to taste so good?
One lady asked. Farmer Jim said,
Well, it is because of all the love that we put in the garden. God has truly blessed us with abundance. We really love gardening, so we share our fresh fruits and vegetables with others.
Father Jim's wife Jeanette said,
I have always loved gardening since I was a young child. My father would get me involved in gardening. He would dig a small area of the ground and get it all ready for me to plant. He would show me how to plant a few seeds and then let me plant the rest. Then, I would cover them up with my hands. I was responsible for keeping the weeds pulled in my garden. Dad told me, since your garden is so small, it will be much easier for you to take care of it. Anytime you need help, I will help you. He was right. It was so much fun to watch the seeds sprout and pop their tiny little heads up out of the soil. It was so exciting then, and it continues to be exciting even today,
said Farmer Jim's wife, Jeanette. After Farmer Jim and Jeanette's day was over at the market, they headed back home. Walley the Raccoon lived in the forest. He often visited Farmer Jim's corn patch. Farmer Jim had the best corn, he should know because he visited his corn patch regularly. Walley would leave his home in the woods and travel up and over the hill and down the other side.
Hello, Mrs. Fox. I am on my way down to the cornfield to have some delicious corn. Would you like to go along with me?
Asked Walley.
Not this time, Walley, but thank you anyway. I am headed down to the stream. Have a good day,
said Mrs. Fox. As Walley headed down the other side of the hill, he passed by Mama Bear Mabel and her little son Cubby. Walley announced that he was on his way to Farmer Jim's cornfield. Mabel agreed with Walley that Farmer Jim did have the best corn around for hundreds of miles, but she was hungry for some delicious honey at Farmer Graham's. She was hoping he would share a little with them. Walley told Ms. Mabel and her son goodbye, and he would see them later, and he went on his way. Walley crossed the open fields, and down into the valley. He walked across the bridge over the bubbling brook, and into the delicious cornfield. Farmer Jim's corn was absolutely the best corn around. Farmer Jim would often see Walley in the cornfield and whistle and call him by name, and Walley would come running. Walley knew that Farmer Jim was a kind man and always gave him a snack, either of apples, grapes, or some kind of berries that Farmer Jim always carried with him while out in the fields working. One day Farmer Jim planted flowers for his wife Jeanette, and Jeanette helped him by watering the flowers. Farmer Jim and his wife had noticed in the past few weeks they had not seen Walley. Farmer Jim told his wife,
I hope that Walley is doing all right. He stopped coming to the cornfield. Perhaps he is going to another cornfield to feast on someone else's corn.
Farmer Jim remembered the time when he found Walley along the roadside at the edge of the forest. He was very small and frightened. After looking around, he could not find any other raccoons nearby, so he decided to take him home and feed him. Farmer Jim remembered how fond his children and parents were of Walley when he brought him home. Walley grew up into a large, healthy, beautiful raccoon. Everyone was sad to see Walley go back to the forest, although Farmer Jim knew that Walley needed the companionship of other raccoons. After Farmer Jim had taken Walley back into the forest, Walley would often travel back to the farm to visit with them. When the children's grandparents came for a visit, they asked about Walley. Farmer Jim told them he had not come home for a visit for a long time, and the children missed him. Grandmum told the children,
"Do not worry, my darlings, he may still come back, you just need to wait and see."
The children were outside playing and asked their mother if Walley was going to come back. She gently told them not to worry. He may still come back, we will just have to wait and see. When the children were outside playing, they would often call for Walley to come and play, but Walley never came. They realized that they may never see Walley again, and they were all sad. Just the thought of Walley never returning to them made little Anna cry. They missed Walley's silly antics and how he would hang off the edge of the fence or peek out behind a tree or stand up on his hind legs and eat with his front paws. It was a very sad time. Little Anna's grandmum came over to comfort her. Grandmother walked out to the chicken yard with little Anna to keep her thoughts occupied and off of Walley. She watched as Anna played with her pet chicken. Farmer Jim and his wife worried that perhaps Walley was hurt or maybe worse. They tried not to think about anything bad happening to him. They tried not to talk about him too much, they knew the children would get upset. Farmer Jim kept himself busy on the farm. He cut the grass, raked and then baled it into big round bales. This is how he feeds his cows through the winter months, with grain that he grows from seed and with the summer fresh cut grass from his fields. He also feeds his chickens with the grain and corn that he grows through the summer months. If the season is good, he can sell any extra that he has left. While Farmer Jim was out in the fields working, he would look around and call Walley's name, but Walley never came. Farmer Jim hauled the hay he cut, raked and baled into his big beautiful red barn. Everyone kept busy with farm work, digging, tilling, raking and planting shrubs. The peach season is also here. It is time to pick and haul them to market. Farmer Jim also gathered and sold apples from his orchards at the end of the summer months into the fall season. Apples are sold at the market and to big companies for making applesauce, pies, jellies, all kinds of apple desserts, pastries, and fresh whole apples for eating. Another week went by, still no sign of Walley. Everyone tried to keep busy so they would not be too sad. Farmer Jim's neighbor, Mr. Graham, was also out in his fields baling and hauling hay to his barn. They knew they would need to feed their livestock through the upcoming winter months. Farmer Jim asked Mr. Graham if he had seen Walley. He sadly told him no, he had not seen him. Farmer Jim filled bags of corn from his fields and loaded on his truck to take to his barn so he could feed his cows and chickens through the winter months. Farmer Graham also took his peaches and loaded them on his truck to take to the market. Fall came, and fall went. Still no sign of Walley. Winter months came and went. As the seasons passed by, spring came and the countryside became greener. Flowers popped up through the ground. The sun became brighter and the days longer. Now, it was time for planting corn in the fields and other crops on the land. Mama Bear Mabel is sniffing honey from the honey box located on Farmer Graham's property. Bears love honey even more than corn. One day in the late spring, Farmer Jim and his wife heard a ruckus in his back patio area. They heard scratching, growling and banging noises. They wondered what was happening out there, so they ran to the back patio, not knowing there were some little fellows looking through the living room door. When Farmer Jim's wife opened the window blinds in the sunroom, she saw 4 small raccoons on the picnic table at the back of the house eating out of the cat's food dish. There were 2 large raccoons and 4 little ones. They were growling at each other and fighting with each other over who was going to eat the cat feed in the dish. The biggest of the baby raccoons was controlling the dish and growling. He didn't want the other 2 smaller ones to have any food. While he was tussling with the one, the other little one would sneak into the dish and grab a handful and shove it into his mouth. It was actually quite funny to watch. Mr. Kitty looked on wondering why they were eating his food. Grandad told the others that he believes that one of the adult raccoons was Walley. Grandad called Walley's name and whistled. One of the big raccoons came right over to the first step and stood up on his hind legs and looked up at Grandad. It was Walley. Everyone was cheering. Grandad gave Walley a cookie and he sat down on the step and started eating it.
Well, look at that, it is Walley. I thought so, and he brought along his whole family. He wanted us to meet his family.
Everyone was so happy to see that Walley was all right. From that day on, Walley would always come and visit Farmer Jim and his family on the farm.
I hope everyone enjoyed this story. This is a story of compassion for wildlife, farm life and living on a farm, and dealing with sadness. Thank you for supporting me. This video was created for a special little boy named Ryan. Ryan, your great-grandmother Margaret, and your great-grandfather Wilbur love you dearly. To all autistic children everywhere, it is my desire for God's blessings be with each and every one of you. Hope you enjoyed this video. By hitting the notification bell, you stay up to date with Melissa's latest content. Please like, subscribe and share this video. Find Melissa on YouTube or Instagram for updates announcing the release date of this book, and other books coming out soon. Children's Books by Melissa at Outlook.com. Melissa is busy at work, typing up her next storybook. Please stay tuned to this channel or Instagram for any new updates. Thank you for watching.